Hey, I'm Bill from Stebbins Garage, and I'm going to show you how to install our new 2-gauge pod for the 78 to 88 Gbody. Our kit does require some trimming, and I'm going to walk you through the entire process so that you're comfortable installing your new kit. If you purchased one of our single vents, I've also got a guide at the end of this to show you how to do that. That one's really simple. So thanks for your purchase, and let's go on to the instructions. First, we want to address the 2-gauge pod that's going to go here, and towards the end of the video, we'll have one for the single pod. So if you purchased this, we're going to make that fit here. If you purchased either the blank or the vented single gauge pod, I'll show you how to do that one. That one takes no time at all and doesn't require any trimming. So the tools we're going to be using today: some flush cutters, some tape. I'm just using a little pry tool. Screwdriver will work just as well. A Dremel sander, and then this is my Dremel with a cutoff wheel. You can also hand file or sand if you'd rather do it that way. And of course you need the gauge pod with lock, and then one of your vents if you're going to do that. I'm going to be using the digital calipers today. These are $10, $12 at Harbor Freight if you want some. So first we're going to install our 2-gauge pod. Flip this over. There's a plastic weld here and a plastic weld here. We need to trim that off so that we can get this white piece out. Trim like that. Trim like that. All right, got that off. And then there's another piece that you pop off. Okay, so let's flip that back over. You can set aside these pieces. We don't need them any longer. Now what we have is an opening with 7 ribs. We need to trim each of those ribs to get them out of the way because they're no longer needed for what we're going to be doing. So use your flush cutters, go in here, and I recommend just using these to trim like this, just like that, and then just like that. We'll do a little cleanup on them after we're done, so go ahead and do the rest of those, and then we'll come back. All right, we've got 7 of those taken off. Set those aside. We don't need those any longer. Now we may need to trim these a little more, but I'm not going to do anything with them until we've got our opening cut. I designed this so that it should slip in there okay without a lot of precise trimming on those ribs. The idea here is that we have a ridge here and here. These bezels should align with that ridge top and bottom, so it'll look pretty factory. I'm going to set this on inches. I'm going to set it to 1/4 inch, which will give us a gap more than what we need, and then we can trim from there. So I'm just going to make a small mark right there, and then I'm going to make one over here as well, and that will give me the ability to lay my tape down and know where I'm cutting. From this right here, this line down to where we made our mark, and then from here down, so we should have a straight line wherever our cut goes all the way down. Let me go ahead and lay the tape out and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've laid a piece of tape across here. We're pretty close to 0.25, 1/4 inch. You don't have to be perfectly precise, but we want to be as precise as possible. Is take 2 pieces of tape. You want to take one and align it with this line here, and then the other one with this line here. So what we've done is we've given ourselves this black piece that I have my finger on is where we're actually going to cut out. So we're just going to take the Dremel and we're going to make a cut here, here, and straight across, and then that piece will come out and we'll be pretty close to fitting the pod in. Now let's make our vertical cuts. You can go ahead and take this off while we're at it too. All right, I need to go and trim just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is just use my flush cutters, cut this in half. And that allows us to get in there a little more precisely. All right, let's get this tape off of here. Now that we've got that trimmed, we're going to go ahead and make a cut up here. And we're just going to put a line. I'm not even measuring. I know for sure we need to trim this little part here. Let's try our test fit. Okay, we're pretty close up top. Need to take a little more off the bottom. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just take 1/8 of an inch off of here. And I recommend doing it this way so that you don't overcut on accident. I'm going to go ahead and snip these off a little more. Okay, so I'm going to test fit again. All right, we're looking pretty good there. We've still got a little bit of clearance that needs to happen here. So we're going to take another 1/16 off. Let's try one more time. We want it to sit flat against the bezel all around. If it doesn't, then you probably need to do a little more trimming on the ribs and what's left of the ribs. Here's a look at the completed opening for my gauge pod. It fits in perfect. If you look, that's about 1/8 of an inch and close to 1/8 of an inch. So I'm recommending that you start with 1/4 inch and work your way down. That way you get a nice precise fit. And this, if you just start it from the top, it clips right in and then it'll lock in place. As you can see, this fits right along that edge, and same here. Okay, so to lock this piece in, all we're going to do is slide our gauge in. And then this one will actually be a little more snug, and it may interfere slightly with the other locking ring. It'll go on, just turn it ever so slightly each time until you get it to where it's tight. Okay, so now we've clamped this. This clamp is actually pressing on the bezel itself. So now this won't actually move. It is super solid. So there you go. Those are Speedhut gauges from Holley. I have not tested this at this point with any other 2 1/16 52mm gauges. Once we do test some, I'll leave a note in the comments if we know for sure that they fit something else. But for now, these are the only ones that I can tell you for sure fit. That's what I designed them off of. Next up, we have our install for either our vented or our blank single gauge. This one's super simple. Take your tool and slide it in here. That'll release the bottom, and then go from the top, and we want to release that. So there's our old vent. Find the SG logo. That should go towards the bottom. The lug here is bigger than the lug on top. This is the bottom. So find that. All you want to do is just press that in and then slide the bottom in till you hear a click. And then press the top in till you hear a click. And there we go. Now you can install your gauge right there. For your single gauge pod, these are super easy to install the gauge. Just drop that in there, flip it over, and your lock ring goes on. And there we go. There's our other gauge. So you can have a total of 3 extra gauges here, depending on what you want to do. So I hope that was helpful for you. In 10 to 15 minutes, you've got your gauges installed and ready to go back in the car. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're at Stebbins Garage there. You can also watch our YouTube channel and subscribe to that. Thanks for your purchase, and we'll see you on the next one.